My parents said the greatest gift for your sister's wedding is if you disappear from our family. My name is Harper Lane. I'm 28. The words landed like a dropped plate, sharp, impossible to catch. My mother smiled the way people do when they stab with a fork. Polite, practiced. My father sipped his coffee as if the steam could wash the sentence away. My sister laughed too loud, high and bright, folding her napkin like a secret. Around the table the chandelier trembled, dust motes drifting through the light as if the room itself was holding its breath. They said it again, softer this time, as if repetition would dull it. No drama, Harper. It'll be best for everyone. My cousin clapped like a judge. The silver spoon I held felt heavy, suddenly a small anchor in my palm. Across from me, the bridesmaid dress lay on a chair. Mauve silk, its hem tasting of perfume and borrowed promises. I remembered the brass key on my ring, the one Grandpa gave me, warm from his pocket, engraved with a tiny crack across its teeth. I twisted it between my fingers under the table until the crack matched the crescent of my thumbnail. The key had opened his shed where he hid his good whiskey and the letters he never mailed. It smelled faintly of oil and cedar and the certainty that family secrets fit into small metal rooms. Have you ever had family cross your boundaries? Tell me in the comments. They expected me to flinch. I didn't. Instead, something inside me rewired, betrayal dragging itself into clarity, like light finding the hairline in glass. The key felt less like inheritance and more like a promise I hadn't realized I owned, a line I could choose to step over or hold like a map. The silence after my mother's words clung to the wallpaper like smoke. My sister adjusted her veil on the mannequin in the corner, pretending not to hear, but her smirk betrayed her. The table's silverware gleamed, cruelly indifferent. I wanted to laugh, to spit, to cry, but instead I ran my thumb over the cracked key, the metal bite reminding me I was still here. Don't look so shocked, my aunt chimed in. It's not like you've ever really fit. Her pearls clicked against her wine glass, a rhythm too rehearsed. My cousin whispered something about attention seekers, and the whole room chuckled. Their laughter was shallow, like pebbles tossed in a dry fountain. My father cleared his throat. We just want peace at the wedding, Harper. For once, no scene. His voice trembled at peace, though his eyes stayed fixed on the coffee's reflection. I noticed then the tiny tremor in his hand, the way his cufflink spun. He wasn't as sure as he pretended. The chandelier above us buzzed, a filament straining to keep its light. I leaned back, the chair creaking as if it, too, resisted the weight of this family. My gaze caught the family portrait on the wall. All smiles, all symmetry, except for the faint crack in the glass that ran directly through my face. You still wear that perfume? My sister asked suddenly, nose wrinkling. It was a decoy question, tossed like a bone to a dog. I didn't answer. Instead, I let the silence bloom, thick and suffocating, until they began shifting in their seats. That silence was mine. For the first time, they noticed it could cut. The air had turned metallic, like the taste of pennies pressed against the tongue. I traced the rim of my glass, listening to the hum of the chandelier grow louder, almost like it was straining to keep their lies illuminated. My mother set her napkin down with precision. Harper, don't make this harder than it has to be. You've always been fragile. Fragile. That word stung more than the request to vanish. Fragile meant disposable, breakable, a thing to be set aside when the show was important. I wanted to shatter the glass in my hand, but instead I breathed through it, letting the silence tighten like a noose around them. My cousin leaned forward. Look, we're just being practical. Your sister deserves a drama-free day. You can't argue with that. The room echoed with nods, not thoughts. Each face blurred together, as if I was staring at a single body with many mouths. The mauve bridesmaid dress on the chair whispered at me again. The satin caught the chandelier's flicker, glowing faintly as though it knew my role had already been erased. I imagined myself in it, faceless, voiceless, clapping for vows I wasn't invited to witness. The image made my chest ache, not with sorrow, but with something sharper, cleaner. I reached for my bag under the table, fingers brushing the brass key. Cold, heavy, unyielding. The crack across its teeth pressed against my skin like a reminder. I didn't need their table, their dress, their performance. The gift they asked for was my disappearance. The gift I was preparing was far more permanent. I stood before anyone could hand me another rehearsed condolence. Chairs scraped like tiny protests. "Excuse me," I said, and the word was small but deliberate. A bridge I'd been building with every slow breath. My mother's smile tightened. My sister's fingers dug into the dress on the chair as if to hold it in place. The air in the dining room smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old paper, the scent of places people polished to hide stains. The hallway light buzzed as I passed. The family portrait watched me with its varnished eyes. The crack through my painted smile seemed deeper now, an incision that aligned with the brass key's tiny fracture. I pressed my palm flat against the wall, feeling the hum of the house like a living thing. It had seen favors traded, wills half-written, whispers folded into envelopes. It knew where things were hidden. I walked to the study at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar, an invitation or an oversight. The room smelled of cedar and tobacco, and the stubborn proof of decisions made without me. I didn't think, I moved. Fingers found the brass key in my palm as naturally as a heartbeat. The desk drawer that never locked, the one father kept for receipts and golf scores, had a small keyhole I'd never noticed. My thumb trembled, matching the key's cough to the lock. For a second, I expected nothing. A stubborn mechanism, a reprimand from someone watching. Instead, the key turned with a patient little click, as if it had been waiting all along. Inside, beneath a stack of receipts, lay a thin envelope with my name on it in my mother's hand. The flap was unsealed. My skin went cold with the kind of knowledge you feel before you understand it. The envelope's weight was deceptive, light as breath, yet dense with all the things they'd never said out loud. My name in my mother's cursive felt both tender and cruel, the kind of handwriting she used on Christmas cards when pretending love could be inked. My pulse matched the chandelier's, buzzed down the hall. I slid the paper free. The letter was brief, clinical almost. Harper is not to receive any part of the family trust. This decision is final. Keep her from disrupting the wedding. Signed not just by my parents, but by my sister too. Her signature, looped and proud, sat below. There's like a crown atop their decree. The air in the study thickened. My eyes darted to the family crest embossed at the top, its gold flaking into dust across the desk. It wasn't just about a wedding. It was exile written into ink, inheritance turned weapon. I let the paper tremble in my hands. But my silence was deliberate. They wanted disappearance. What they didn't realize was that paper trails leave shadows, and shadows eventually turn into light. Behind me, the floor creaked. My aunt's perfume, gardenia, cloying, floated through the crack in the door. She whispered, not knowing I was listening. She'll never know about the clause. By tomorrow, it'll all be ours. My thumb pressed into the crack of the brass key until it hurt. For the first time, the fracture didn't feel like weakness. It felt like alignment, a map etching itself into my skin. I folded the letter slowly, each crease a blade. My aunt's voice trailed off as she moved back toward the dining room, her pearls clicking faintly like a metronome, marking my anger. I waited until the house sighed again, pipes shifting, chandelier humming, before I slipped the envelope into my bag. The study's lamp flickered, as if complicit. Dust spiraled in its beam, tiny particles moving like secrets freed from their hiding place. I thought of all the nights I'd been told I was lucky to be in this family, that I owed my place at the table to tolerance. Yet here it was, proof I'd been written out long before I had the chance to speak. I stepped into the hallway, the letter pressing against me through the fabric of my bag, steady as a heartbeat. At the dining table, their laughter had resumed, brittle, forced, but loud enough to pretend nothing had cracked. My sister's voice rose above the rest. She'll calm down. She always does. But I didn't sit. I lingered in the doorway, letting them see me with the shadows of the hall wrapping my figure. The chandelier's light caught the key in my hand, its fractured tooth gleaming like a warning. "Harper," my father said, voice low, cautious. "Don't start." I smiled thinly, not because I was calm, but because silence was finally louder than their demands. The letter in my bag wasn't paper anymore. It was leverage. The dining room had gone quiet when I returned. Every fork was poised midair. Every eye trained on me like I was the intruder in my own house. My sister's lips parted, ready to deliver another barb, but my hand slipped casually into my bag, brushing the folded envelope. That stopped her. She didn't know what I had, but she knew I had something. I sat down without being asked. The chandelier's light fractured across the glasses, scattering little prisms over the tablecloth like the room itself was cracking. I placed the brass key in front of me, its broken tooth catching the glow. "What's that supposed to mean?" my cousin asked, feigning nonchalance, though his voice caught. I smiled thinly. "It means there are always doors you think are locked until someone finds the key." My mother's hand twitched toward my bag, then froze. "Harper, whatever game you're playing, it ends here." I leaned forward, steady, my voice quiet enough to make them lean in. Funny thing about paper trails. They don't vanish just because you want me to. They live, they breathe, and sometimes they resurface in the worst places. My father's cufflink spun again, nervous habit betraying him. My sister's smirk faltered for the first time that night. The silence grew thick, stretching until it pressed on their throats. And in that silence, I realized I didn't need to scream or disappear. They had given me their gift, and I was about to return it in full. The chandelier above us buzzed one last time, as if even the light was tired of pretending. I set my glass down carefully, the sound sharp enough to slice through the room. Their faces, tense, pale, waiting, reminded me of actors caught forgetting their lines. I pulled the envelope out, laid it on the table. No words, just the neat cursive of my name staring back at them. My mother's lips parted, my sister's breath caught, my father's hands froze. For once, the performance faltered. "I don't need your wedding invitation," I said softly, "or your table. What I need is honesty, and I think the world would like to see what honesty looks like in this family." My thumb rested on the seal, never torn, never needed. Proof that silence had been their weapon, until it became mine. My sister whispered, "You wouldn't dare." But her voice cracked, betraying her. I leaned back, calm. "I don't have to scream or fight or disappear. All I have to do is open the door you tried so hard to lock." My fingers brushed the brass key, the fracture glinting like it was smiling with me. The letter didn't need to be waved around. Its weight was already shifting the room, bending their spines, thinning their air. I slipped it back into my bag with quiet finality. Revenge, I realized, wasn't fire. It was clarity, and they were choking on it already.